Brace yourself for the ultimate Carolina Panthers experience. Welcome to Two Growls, One Roar, the podcast that hits harder than a Luke Kuechly tackle. We're diving deep into the heart of Panther Nation, bringing you unrivaled passion, insider takes, and pure gridiron fire. From Wilmington to the cosmos, this is your home for the fiercest football talk east or west of Charlotte.
What the heck is going on, Panthers Nation? Hope you guys are doing well. Also hope the connection stays up. For some reason, it's a little bit choppy over here, but we'll play this thing out, see how it goes. It's been a long time, man. It's been a long time since we have live streamed on here. Got a lot of stuff going on. Hope you guys are doing well. Busy as we always are. Gonna add an extra layer in here live. Oh boy. All right, y'all. Well, first of all, before we add an extra layer, let's talk about the wipeout that happened earlier today. Actually happened, I don't know. When was it? About an hour ago. It was a very bad wipeout. Hold on, let me make sure one thing I got here. All right, cool. We do have the microphone. First of all, welcome in, folks. Hope you guys are doing well. We are going to try to get back into our habit of live streaming every Sunday night, the same way we do in the season. We're taking this thing up a notch, as we always do with the Two Growls, One Roar podcast, folks. This podcast is heard all around the world. I cannot thank you guys enough. We are not just a YouTube name that is a podcast. We are a full-on podcast. You can get us on Apple, Spotify. We push that. We have not spent a single marketing dollar, but this podcast has charted in the top 250 of all football podcasts in the United States. I want you to think about how big that is. And it's all because of you guys, which I much appreciate. Folks, we are rocking with, we don't have sponsors on this show, but we are rocking with some Cookout. However, it's not Cookout in here. And no, I don't drink, so it's not alcohol either. It's bubbly. We are rocking with the blueberry pomegranate bubbly drink, kicking off our Sunday night. Last Sunday in June. July's here. Football is around the corner. 3 weeks away. 3 weeks away from rookies reporting, veterans reporting. Of course, we're not going to get to see anything this year, which is unfortunate. I did look forward to, I just recorded an episode, some funny things, and I'm going to get back into my injury here in just a second. It has been, this is the 10-year anniversary of the Carolina Panthers Super Bowl run, but something that's just wild to me is the fact that that was the last Panthers football game that I attended. It's been 10 years. When you live 3.5 hours away, and of course, like, in 15, 16, 17, 18, probably could have made it up. Wasn't on our bucket list for me and my wife, newlyweds in around 18. And then a lot of stuff happened since then. You throw in kids and family and moving and all that stuff. And yeah, it's harder to get down there, but we are planning to try to make it. But it's been 10 years. I've been to more training camp than I have Panthers football games. It's just the way it is. And it's unfortunate that we're not going to get a chance. Now, I'm not one of those people that's sitting back here like super upset with the fact that there is construction happening and there is physically nowhere to put fans, and the logistics of moving fans and or players and the personnel and the team to suit fans and appease them. Like, no, I get it. Like, no, we're not moving across town to the 49ers who have their own thing going on. We're not jumping down to Clemson again, which was a bit of a failure, if you ask me. Not going back to Wofford. All those doors are closed. Now, you have a year, so proper planning. I kind of see this working two ways. One, they said this is going to be for the next 2 preseasons, but if I were betting my money, we know that these contracts for the companies that build these things are placed in a way, so if you finish early, of course, you get paid better. And so maybe there's a chance, and I am nowhere on the ground. I have not seen it. It could be 2 years, which that part does stink. But I was recording an episode, and I was thinking back, like, man, I have been to way more training camp. I've spent way more time at training camp. It was actually fun. Bryce Young's rookie season when we went, number one, Nolan got his autograph, which was really cool. Got to see all the hype and frenzy around that. But we were there in Wofford for a day or two and then traveled up to Charlotte to Bank of America Stadium for Fan Fest. I have to get all these back together, Fan Fest. I'm curious the way the Carolina Panthers are going to do this. Now, we know there's no training camp open to the public, but considering that the Carolina Panthers had back together at Clemson, you would think there's an opportunity to get 2 practices in for the fans, and I think they know that fans are going to be chomping at the bit to get there, and nothing's been published. I don't have an inside track, but if we were to guess, they should have back together at Bank of America Stadium, just the way I would see it. And you would also think that Fan Fest would be available. So there's the potential to see 2. Of course, we're not going to get to see the joint practice with the Browns. That's okay. Maybe preseason game. Maybe get an opportunity to go see the preseason. But anyways, going back on track with where we were. I don't know how much. Yeah, you can see that. That's like solid red. It is burned to the crisp, not by sunburn. I literally was out biking with Pearson. Me and Nolan were out biking. We biked 6.5 miles, and we were a quarter mile away from the house. We were almost there. I couldn't see the house because you had to go around a corner to get there, but we were very close. I kid you not. I'm doing it off camera. There's this little, I don't know what it was. It got me. Something stung me, but it literally came at me in an angle, stung me right in the thigh. And that thing hurt bad. Like, I don't know what it was. This wasn't like a little small thing. That thing stuck me. It immediately started swelling, and I plastered out. Luckily, I fell to the right because there's a pretty decent-sized ditch on the left, which would not have been great to fall down a ditch and roll over. But I fell right, still knocked the crap out of my arm, skidded up everything. My freaking left ankle, which I didn't even fall on or didn't think I fell on, is swollen. Just don't get old. That's the point of this. I'm curious to see how my body feels tomorrow, if I feel like I've been at a football practice or something. Who knows? Anyways, folks, hope you guys are doing well as always. For those who we're trying to get this fixed here. Got the tripod set up. It's not really working the way I want to work. We're going to try. Nope. There we go. Now we can adjust it a little bit better. There. So we go live every Sunday night during the NFL season, assuming the Panthers play a football game on a Sunday. Now we know we got a Monday night football game coming up late in the year against the San Francisco 49ers. So we'll see how that one goes. But we do every Sunday night. And to be honest, I know a lot of people complain about primetime, not having primetime games. It's the best thing for me because the games are typically at 1 o'clock. I get to digest it, recap it, get ready, do a live show, do a podcast recording. I get to knock all that stuff out in one sitting. And it's early. I get to go to bed early. So versus like the 4:30 kick or a late kick on a Sunday night, whatever it is. So I'm looking forward to it. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do. We continue to grow, pushing on the verge of 3,000 subscribers. Can't thank you guys enough. And again, we talked about the growth of the podcast itself, which is unreal to think about. We teeter back and forth in the top 250 in the U.S., but we are 115, 100 in the top 100 around the globe. Brazil, Switzerland, we've charted in Germany. So there's clearly a lot of fans across, and I appreciate it. Again, for someone that has not spent a single dime promoting this show, can't thank you guys enough. So anyways, Jay Shiesty, yeah. I'm glad I'm okay too. And the funny thing is, I don't know if y'all do not follow me on social media. If you don't follow me on X, go out to X right now, and you will see a video of our 2-year-old recreating the fall. It's right out there. He will break it down for you. It's hysterical to see. I think it's funny. Maybe you don't. But anyways, folks, got a lot to talk about tonight, or maybe not a lot to talk about. You know, it's one of those things where I record so much content. I mean, we put out 3 to 4 videos for a week. One of the reasons I'm coming on here live tonight is we are getting in what I consider a break, which is not really a break to most. It will probably be, I don't know, maybe one or two videos coming out this week. We've got a Panthers video I just recorded, so we've got that in the works. For the college football fans that follow me, which I appreciate, we've got the University of North Carolina football preview coming out. It's kind of a high level right now. And a preview for the South Carolina Gamecocks. So we've got those contents. What I'd like to tell people is, number one, Carolina Panthers, which you guys know, that's the Two Growls, One Roar podcast. That's what you get. Carolina Dad Show, which is a blend of all this stuff. We primarily cover North Carolina, South Carolina, and then we do like to stay up to date with NC State, all your FBS programs here in North Carolina and South Carolina. So State, App, Duke, ECU, Wake, all those. Like we Charlotte 49ers, stay up to date with what's happening. I can't cover it in depth the way that I do with the other teams that I follow. So in even North Carolina and South Carolina, it's more of a fan perspective. Not that this isn't from a fan perspective, because it is, but it's not as in the weeds. Like, I'm not listening to every single presser. It's just too much for me to be able to maintain it. So it's more of me as a fan of watching both of those programs, see where they go. So you got that coming out. And there's also, if you missed it, we did do a little kind of a mini preview for North Carolina, South Carolina, and we did talk about the other programs in the FBS in North Carolina and South Carolina. So it's fun. So you turn the corner here. So we have the July 4th holiday, which, number one, I hope you guys have the time off, or you at least get the day off, or maybe you get a portion of it. Enjoy it. Spend some time with your family. That's what we're going to be doing, which is part of the reason, again, I'm on here live tonight, is next week's going to be pretty crazy. Spending some time in Charleston with family, coming back and, kicking it at the beach, which we live at the beach. I'm very fortunate to be. We're 35 minutes, but it doesn't matter. We're technically, we could just pop up any day and go. So we'll be around with all of our shaboomies, living the beach life, looking for shark's teeth out here on the coast of North Carolina. Cannot complain. We're going to try not to wreck the bikes. We're going to try not to. And then in the background of all this stuff, and I honestly don't know what's going to happen with it yet, but we are in the process of trying to give you guys some new stuff. And it's not just new content, but I've got a few gears turning. There's a guy here in Wilmington that specializes in podcast, and I don't necessarily need him per se for the podcast growth, but he has a lot of nice equipment. And he's a great person. I'm not saying I don't need him for that stuff. Like, I just know what my path is and the way I want to do this. But he's got a lot of nice equipment, a very nice studio. And so I'm hoping in the month of July to pick his brain about the potential to, hopefully, if it fits within budget. We don't really have a budget. We take what we get off of YouTube and pay the bills right now. That's really where we're at. But I would like to start diverting some of that in investing. One, of course, upgrading microphone and upgrading a camera for you guys as we sit here, but also figuring out what we can do. And so it would be an expansion of this, but more of a sit down type show is what I'm thinking, pre-recorded. There's some talent here in Wilmington, and I know that I could push to bring folks on the show through virtual. Like, that's the thing to do. But as a one-man show, and this is really how I've done this, I'd like to get folks in person, and there's a few folks I'm thinking about tapping to, and we don't know what this is going to be just yet. But so don't get overexcited, but thinking through how I could tap in some of the Wilmington talent that's here local and create some type of Wilmington-based show, not necessarily like a Wilmington sports show, but with a few folks locally that we could talk Panthers, NFL, whatever we want to talk about, maybe 2 episodes per month that would fit into the YouTube channel. So thinking through it, we're going to try to get there. Now, with that being said, we do have a title on here, Carolina Panthers. I guess if I put this title, I don't even know. Like, this is what I do. I go out and look for stuff. I'm pretty sure I use this one. Yes. 2025 season preview. Now, we cannot preview the entire season in one setting right here today. Just not enough time. What I will tell you guys, if you are a super football junkie and you want to learn more, every year I put together a 90-man preview of the Carolina Panthers roster heading into training camp. Way back when, 2 years ago, when I first started this show, I only recorded 1 episode per week. Didn't mean to hit the mic. But I would record 1 episode per week. And then I decided, you know what, for the month of July, especially at that time when I just didn't know what to talk about or what to cover, and it was a very dead period. It's just like, I don't know what to do. We started doing the 90-man roster preview, and I think I did it in 3 episodes. I don't remember. But we're going to continue that. We did it last year. We're going to do it by position groups. So we break down every single player. And, of course, all of that will lead into, which I've put out a 53-man roster projection. It's built into one of the episodes. I can't even remember which episode. Like, I honestly cannot. Remember, it was a few episodes ago, we did like a brief 53-man roster, like back of the napkin, looking at who's here, what's what. I mean, it's going to be, pretty easy outside of a few position groups to really whittle down who this is going to be. It just comes down to numbers in a lot of instances. So we will get to that point. And of course, we'll get into the full 2025 season preview. A lot of expectations. Like, I think largely as we talk about the previewing the Carolina Panthers, it's been a shift, and it's hard to read it. It's hard to know how I feel about it because it didn't happen overnight. And it's something that's kind of just over the course of this offseason become a thing. And it's this idea that the Carolina Panthers have the potential to make the playoffs. They do. And it's not one of those far-fetched scenarios, at least right now, because we're at the point in the offseason, and maybe we're past it. But for y'all that follow me, y'all know that I have this idea, this arc of fandom that exists for everyone in the NFL. So you go through the season, of course, you get into the playoffs, you get to the Super Bowl. And I can't pinpoint the exact time, but, when the Super Bowl ends, of course, the team that just won the Super Bowl, the team that lost, they're going to have, the fans of both of those teams are going to have their feelings, some super high, some super low. So you have to let the dust settle there. So maybe the free agency period, maybe a little bit after the Super Bowl. Anyways, probably free agency, maybe into the draft. I can't put a pin mark on the exact moment. But there becomes a time where, in general, I'd say most fan bases reach a pinnacle mountaintop of their expectations for their team because you've forgotten about everything else that's happened. You're putting it aside. And now, realistically, in your mind, you haven't seen them play football in X number of months. You saw them add this, this, and this. They made this change. Now, on the flip side, again, that's why I won't say every team, because we do know there's teams with coaches on the hot seats. There's teams that don't have a quarterback or know who their quarterback's going to be. So you do have a mixture of that, but you feel like the majority of fans get to a point in the offseason where their expectations are just set. And you say, you know what? I don't care. We're going to win. We're going to beat everybody. And we have those moments. And then for the Carolina Panthers over the last 6 or 7 years, we've also gone into this and said, oh, shoot, man, okay, maybe this isn't it. Maybe this team does not have it figured out. It's been bumpy. It's been a bumpy ride. But for some reason, it's a little bit different. Again, I think it's because we're at that point where we are right now. to start talking about playoffs. But I say that because the national media is picking it up as well. Yeah, and I just don't know how I feel about the media buying the hype, because we can go back to last year, the first game that the Carolina Panthers were favored in however many games, the Dallas Cowboys, we remember it, and the Panthers got curb stomped. Not good. The Panthers, we talk a lot, and we should, about the final stretch of games for the Carolina Panthers and how they looked. And we think, like, yes, there were significant improvements in the play of Bryce Young, of course. But we also kind of, like, Panthers fans have this goldfish memory, or maybe that's not what it is, Finding Nemo memory, whatever. Is it Nemo, the bluefish? They got that short-term memory when it comes to the blowout loss to the Dallas Cowboys. When it comes to that loss to Tampa Bay, those things sucked. Like, they absolutely did. I think we sometimes say, yeah, the Carolina Panthers, and because we think about Bryce Young down that stretch, played so good, and they did. So when we talk about playoffs and expectations for this team, I do think, yes, it's a possibility, but I'm also not going to say it's going to be a cakewalk. The Panthers, early part of their schedule, they have to get this thing off right. And we can make fun of the Jacksonville Jaguars all we want. We can make fun of Duval. You can feel however you want to feel about Trevor Lawrence. But I have a feeling that that team in Jacksonville is going to be ready to play football week 1. The Panthers cannot come out losing that game. You travel then across the country to the Arizona Cardinals, and, like, let's be real, the Carolina Panthers wrecked the Arizona Cardinals' potential to get into the playoffs last year. Now, Arizona would have had to have some work along the way to get there, but in general, like, they weren't pleased. Like, we saw their tight end go off the field, pissed off, recorded, cannot believe they lost. That was part of the theme of when a team lost to the Carolina Panthers last year, because they, in their mindset, they're thinking, oh, this was that 2-win football team that's hot garbage. This is a team that has ownership that can't figure it out. This is a team that has a quarterback that isn't a quarterback. You throw all those things in there, and you think about the New Orleans Saints, and when North Carolina, when Carolina knocked off the Saints, and we see some of the tweets that come out from the Saints, like, people they do not respect the Panthers. They just don't. And it doesn't matter how many we almost beat the Chiefs, we almost beat the Eagles. Those things don't matter, man. You got to get across the finish line. So for me, expectations are, yes, this team should be competing. Like, I think we think about how this offseason has gone. And I said this in the episode that I just recorded as well. So if you go back, or I haven't uploaded it, but if you end up listening to it, you'll hear it in there. There's a lot of thoughts for me personally when I think about Ejiro Evero, and you see some of the sentiment from the players that play for him, hold him in high regards. And you think about that, and you sit back and say, okay, maybe, you know what? We're going to say, give him a little checkbox there. You think about injuries, and you can't not talk about this team without talking about the injuries. And it's been a theme. Like, we can talk about all the points allowed. We can talk about all the rushing yards allowed. But, guys, you have to be realistic with yourself. When you are pulling guys off of the practice squad, off of your practice squad, pulling guys off of other teams' practice squad, you are not realistically dealing with NFL talent when you have other, guys with NFL talent on the other side. I mean, it's no knock on the guys that are there that are put in that position. And I also think, to a certain extent, you have to be able to coach whatever you are dealt with. You have to be able to manage adversity, because you're not going to have a situation where everything is always checking out for you. So you have to do it. So part of me says, okay, maybe I give Ejiro Evero a pass, a little bit of a pass because of the defensive performance. But then you think about week 1 against the Saints, when this team was fully healthy. Now, we can understand that Bryce Young didn't put him in a lot of good situations in week 1, and it just steamrolled downhill from there. but we were as healthy as we could have been in that moment. And the team just didn't have it on the defensive side of the ball. One of the biggest things that we saw is miscommunication in the secondary. And so how is that going to improve when now the majority of the core that you will have back there is the same? There's still a question mark about the starting safety opposite of Trayvon Merrick. We'll see. A lot of the rumor mills are having fun right now, trying to, spin up the idea of the Panthers interested in whoever. Simmons, Bachman, all those guys that are still in the market. So we'll find out. But then you say to yourself, okay, well, maybe, I don't know that I can give Ejiro Evero a check mark on that one because it's kind of back and forth. And also his sample size, when you think about him as a coordinator, he had the pretty decent success in Denver, but then there was change above him, so he's gone. His first year here in Carolina was okay, not bad. He performed well in some areas, but then you go back to this past year and it was a total disaster. So for me, it's like, okay, we're entering really like his fourth year as a coordinator. He's had these highs and lows. He's gone through head coaching interviews to just sitting on the sidelines, basically. In this past cycle, how good is he going to be? And the question that I keep bringing up when we think about this, and like, here's where I sit, because it does feed into the Panthers this year and our expectations for them. So I hate to do it, but you have to think about worst case scenario, because there is a worst case scenario that exists. Like, what if the Carolina Panthers start out 0-1, 0-2, 0-3? We don't want to see that. But if you have the offensive side of the ball that's performing well and the defense is basically the same as it was last year, with all that you have invested in it, I think there's potential for Ejiro to be gone earlier. Now, I don't want to see that, because that would mean this team's not winning football games, and you're putting yourself in turmoil to a certain extent. But I don't know. Maybe change sometimes is a good thing once we get into it. But we hope that doesn't happen. But I say that because you also think about Dave Canales. And when all of this went down last year with Dave Canales benching Bryce Young, there were so many crybabies that tried to say that it was David Tepper that influenced it, that it was David Tepper's decision. And then all of a sudden now it's like a 180 and everybody's giving Canales the credit. Like, I believed it was Canales from the start. And it's just like, it's common sense. And for people to criticize him and his thought path, you have not played football and understand the concept of watching film. For him to come off of the podium and what he watched and then to go back and watch the film, folks, I can tell you, if you've been in a film session at any point, high school, college, maybe you made it to the pros and you did play in college football, NFL, whatever it is, I can tell you that film session will open the door. The eye in the sky does not lie. And so for me, if Dave Canales can sit down and come back and say, you know what, yep, we're done. I'm taking Bryce Young off the field. I think worst case scenario, if we got into a disaster, that there's potential for Ejiro Evero to not be your defensive coordinator in Carolina early. Just my opinion. Like, I don't know what the threshold is, how much Canales is going to want to put up with. Something we'll find out as we get into it. Now, I'm doing a lot of talking about the defense as we talk about, this, I guess we're going to call it a hodgepodge of a preview for the Carolina Panthers. It's not really like a super detailed preview, but just a high-level preview for folks that maybe have not been watching content, although a lot of folks are watching content, which I appreciate it. But maybe you have not been tuned in, so we're doing it on the live episode. I talk all about this and a lot on the defensive side of the ball because, to me, defense, it really is a big piece of how successful the Carolina Panthers are going to be. Now, I am bullish. I just went through that whole talk track to talk through scenarios about where Ejiro Evero could be. I think this defense is going to be better. I do think we're going to see a big jump in where they sit in a lot of key measurables, stats, I don't think they're going to be last. I think we're going to see a jump of at least 10 spots in a lot of things. Run defense, points allowed. You think about the Panthers, who were giving up, 30-something point, a little over 30-some points per game. If they can get in the range of 22, 23 points per game, I think there's good opportunity, given what we know is on the offensive side of the ball, for this team to be very competitive in a lot of football games. But there are still, of course, question marks, which like if you guys follow Panthers content, if you have Panthers content, if you create it yourself, you know all about the question marks that we have. There's a big what if. So we've spent a lot of time talking about the investments. So you think about last year, the investments on the offensive line and the offensive side of the ball turned out well. It did. Like that investment itself, and whether some people think we overpaid for Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis, so be it. I don't care. The investment paid off. On the flip side, this year, you now start to invest heavily on the defensive side of the ball. You bring in Turk, you bring in Bobby Brown, you bring in a Pat Jones, you draft 2 young, promising edge rushers, you draft a Cam Jackson to put on the defensive front. So you've invested very heavily. That defensive front is the foundational piece for, one, getting pressure on the quarterback, of course, and stopping the run. The 2 things that you have to improve on. So putting my, devil's advocate hat on, what if things just don't pan out the way that we think they will? What if all these new additions? So then, of course, we're probably backtracking ourselves to say, if you have these type of caliber players, they're healthy, and we didn't even throw A'Shaun Robinson in the mix, and of course talking about healthy Derek Brown, but you gel all these guys together and you don't see production or you don't see performance, then it's probably going to fall back on coaching, of course, and changes that come along with that. But there are instances too where it just doesn't work. For whatever reason, we've seen bad contracts, not just here, but across the NFL, and bad investments and things that, you give them X load of money and it's just not what you think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be like for the Panthers. So for me, the interior part, you look at what is actually there, your tackles, your ends, I feel really good about that. I look outside of that, pun intended, at the outside linebacker room, which has greatly improved. I mean, year over year from what it was last year to this year, there is no denying that it is much, much better. But I also know that we're talking about 2 former Minnesota Vikings. We're talking about DJ Wonnum and Pat Jones. Do we think we're going to get 8 sacks apiece out of both of those guys? I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you right now. Are these 8, 9, 10 sack players? Do we think that we're going to see Scorton and Umamielin producing early? I can't tell you. So that, to me, as much as it is an improvement and as much as it has improved for this team, there's still a lot to know. Like, I just don't know that we can go out there and chalk it up and say, yeah, we got our 10, 11, 12 sack player. Also, speaking of the rumor mill, I know a lot of folks floating around the idea of getting whatever from Cincinnati, Trey Hendrickson. Like, I just don't think that one's – I don't think that one's in the cards for the Panthers right now. Of course, sure, if you could and there was a way and you could pay him what you could, maybe. But a lot of it, again, as we talk about, if the Panthers are moving past this period of rebuilding, which I think they are, we could honestly be in a phase where it's next year. As much as I want to hype it up, and I mean, we know the expectations within the building, they're not coming in here saying, well, yeah, let's double our win total, or let's improve our win total by 3 or 4 wins. They want to win some football games. Like, these guys, we know the tenure that you have within the NFL. So we'll see how it plays out. Again, this is not really a positional group preview, but just general thoughts. Now, for me, I got to tell you, I'm going to keep throwing up my hands, banging the table, whatever you want to say. I am worried to death about our inside linebackers. I am. I am not sold on Trevin Wallace. I am not. I mean, Josie Jewell's great, but he's missed some time. And then you have Roseboom in there. I'm not scared of that group. Like, you think about the great linebacking cores or core players that we have had here. You stack up, like if we were having a comparison between those, I don't see it. Now, things could change. Maybe Trevin Wallace and then Dan Morgan believed in him. Maybe he's going to find it this year. Like, it's just going to come around. But to me, I just worry that it's not there and that it could be a miss. But we'll see. It's too early to jump the gun. But I will tell you, guess what? You know how things get easier for your linebacking core, your middle linebackers, your linebackers that are playing at depth, not on the line? You get a stout defensive line. You get really good outside of linebackers. You put those guys in position, because I'm going to tell you, when you have guys in front of you that are taking on blocks, taking on one or two defender coming at you, it opens things up. You can see, you can play faster. And that's maybe part of where I hope Trevin Wallace takes a jump here in year 2. But a lot, again, is going to be centered around the defense. And heck, we're already doing a preview within a preview, going through this high level, no notes, just talking through, because that's what we do. We've talked about cornerback, and I have extensively done that, so I do not want to go too far into this. But yes, J.C. Horn, great. Mike Jackson, okay. Shaw Smith-Wade for now, yeah, okay. Feel good about him. Beyond that, still some question marks. And, of course, we've already talked about safety and understanding, is it going to be Damani Richardson, or are they still looking for a veteran presence to bring in? But in general, if you were to like go line by line, position by position, the biggest thing the Carolina Panthers have this year is depth on the defensive side of the ball. And depth and competition are the things that Dave Canales has preached, that he's wanted, Dan Morgan as well. And when you have those pieces built in, there's a good chance that you're going to find success. And I do think Jero Evero hopefully is going to figure it out. I hope he challenges himself to be a little more flexible in some of his scheming, primarily thinking about how he utilizes some of the players on the defensive side of the ball. I think there's potential to use some guys in a few different ways. J.C. Horn, maybe he could follow the number 1. Anyways, we're talking a lot about defense as we get into our 2025 season preview. Playoff bound, or are they rebuilding? I spent all this time talking about defense. Of course, we have to talk about offense, and talked about it a little bit along the way. But this offense for the Carolina Panthers, number 1, if you're not a stat tracker and a nerd, and you don't follow things the way that I do on some of this stuff, you think about Bryce Young in his rookie season and the performance, points per game, about 13.2, which was like second worst in Carolina Panthers history. You then jump to this year with Dave Canales, first season at the helm, and I know it was a tandem between Andy Dalton and Bryce Young. We jump up to 20 points per game. So you are almost a full touchdown more in points scored on the offensive side of the ball. Very significant improvement, and to be honest, with insignificant players in some situations. And it's not saying these guys aren't good, but you think about the core that we had, or what we thought we had, with Mingo potentially being in the mix, Deontay Johnson potentially being in the mix this past year, and then to see all that kind of go out the window, see Xavier up and down a little bit, Adam Thielen injured, and just the rotation of having a David Moore, having a Jalen Coker. And so we all know, and if you, again, follow the Panthers to any extent, that one of the big strengths of this team this year is all in that wide receiver room. And it's one of the competitions that I, like you guys, I'm most excited to see. It is unfortunate that we are not going to get to really see it in training camp. I know there's just bits and pieces, and we're fans watching, but you do kind of take note, and we'll, of course, have to lean on all of our awesome media members that are there and what they're able to share with us as they go through the position battles. We'll get to see them in the preseason games at least, but that is the most significant improvement on the offensive side of the ball in one of the competition, like, cannot wait. You think about Bryce Young's rookie season and what he had out there. And again, it's no knock on the guys that were there, no knock on DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault. It is no knock on them, but it is night and day. You can check the box there. You think about the offensive line, go ahead and check the box on that one as well. I do think, now, I say check the box with the exception of what is the health of Taylor Moton. Now, we know there was a lot of conversations about Taylor Moton this offseason, whether primarily because of the money that was owed. Is he going to be cut? Is he going to be waived? Are we going to restructure? Are we going to extend? Are we going to draft the right tackle? None of those played out. He's here. So we'll have to see. Monitor the health of him as he goes through. But in general, I feel confident. Seems like to me, I would think that Cade Mays, and it's early, potentially is going to be your starting center. We would think that we would see significant or continued improvements in development from Ike Kwanu at the left tackle. But offensive line, good. Wide receivers in a good position. Running back, you talk about Dowdle, Etienne, Hubbard, fantastic group there. And again, we have not, I always say we have not talked a lot. We have, but I was like, it just feels like we have not talked enough about what Rico Dowdle is going to do for this offense and the potential to have him to spell out Chuba Hubbard. I don't know what the snap percentage is going to be between these guys, whether it's going to be like a 70-30, 65-35, and of course, throwing in whoever the third back is into this rotation at some point. But it's a good mixture. And maybe this is the turning point for where Dave Canales does really become this run heavy. You see, he's got the cards to deal this year, man. I mean, he really does on the offensive side of the ball. We've already talked about the continuity. And I mean, just for those that may not understand why this is so significant. Number one, it's significant for Bryce Young, your quarterback, your play caller. I mean, everyone sees the John or the Gruden clips of him and the complex play calls and all that stuff. It's difficult. It's not like flipping on Madden and having a very simple read. These offenses, the formations, the motions, the calls, all those things take time because when you're going through it in your first iteration of this, you're not really thinking so much about, hey, let me actually take a second to read who's going where. In your mind, you're like, okay, where am I supposed to be aligned? Where am I supposed to be right now? What am I looking for on my side of the ball? It becomes a language for you in second nature. It's almost like a second language for you for all the guys on the offensive side of the ball. And when you're all able to speak that second language together and everyone already understands it and knows it, guess what? You can get more advanced. It's just like taking a foreign language. You're in a 101 class. Okay, you get the fundamentals down pat. We're going to go up to a 102. That is what the Carolina Panthers offense is going to be able to do. It's the sophistication to build off of what's there. Last year, you laid the foundation. So that is a significant thing for this entire offense this year, bringing essentially everyone back with the addition of some nice pieces to plug in. That's why I think the Panthers, I think, are going to have another jump in points per game. Like for me, they jump up to 20, and now it helped the way they finished the end of the season against the Falcons. But I do think we're probably in the 24, 25 point per game range. Now, it's early, but I think that is how productive the Carolina Panthers offense can be heading into this season. So we talked about offensive line, talked about the wide receiving core, talked about running backs to a certain extent. Of course, Bryce Young, I mean, for me, I just love the fact that he's talking. I love the fact that he's kind of taken this new edge, this new form of leadership, because it's something that, like, you go back last year, that confidence just wasn't there. And it probably has to do with the whole sports psychology side of things and working through everything that's happening. But he did not have this level of confidence. He didn't. And you perform better when you are confident in, who you are, in yourself. And we didn't get to see that at all. Like, it's taken some time. but to know that he is getting into that, whether it's PG, trash talking, whatever it is with JC Horn, I don't care, because you think about what other players said about him last offseason. Jadeveon Clown, he's a quiet leader. He's this, he's quiet. Everyone says he's quiet. Now he's kind of coming into his own. Oh, I'll show you. Being who he is within himself as the leader of this team. So I'm excited for Bryce Young. There's going to be a lot more to talk about with him. I think he will pick up where he left off. I think there is a chance that Bryce Young, it's early, and this is going to be a bold prediction for me. I'm not going to say he's going to be an MVP, and we're not there yet. But I do think he could do enough to be on the outskirts of some type of production that's going to put him. And again, I'm not saying he's going to be an MVP or he's going to win it or he's going to be a finalist or anything like that. I think a light bulb has went off for him. He is now in year 3. He's got Dave Canales in the continuity, like we said, and he's got weapons that he has never had before. It's going to go off. And I think the version of who we knew he was at Alabama is going to come into fruition. And at that point, when we talk about that level of performance, the sky is the ceiling. The ceiling is the roof, as Michael Jordan said one time as well. So I feel good, man. And again, because we're at the point in the offseason where you can feel this good, you still got to see it. I think I want to see Bryce Young play in the preseason. I think that's another thing that Dave Canales is going to change. We'll see more of Bryce Young as we get in there. So it feels good. Now, one position group that the one question mark, and I don't know if I call it a question mark, but the tight end group. And it's really just the fact that Tommy Tremble, like, what is the status of Tommy Tremble? Now, I saw a picture of him. I don't know if he was doing anything at the tight end whatever, the camp that they have there. I saw him there, as well as Jatavion Sanders. If Tommy Tremble is able to get back by week 1, I feel really good about the offensive side of the ball. I do. And that's not me saying I think Tommy Tremble is going to go out and put up 300, 400, 500 yards. But I like how he can complement the offense. Now, Jatavion Sanders, on the other hand, and again, we're not in really the preview mode for each of these position groups per se, but I also am much higher on Jatavion Sanders this year. And not that I wasn't last year, but I think he's another player that's going to benefit from this and being healthy. I mean, in honesty, if he didn't get hurt and he didn't get banged up, I think there was a chance he could have gotten close to 500 yards, maybe 400, 450. I think we're going to be talking about a 500-yard pass catcher in Jatavion Sanders when we get this thing all said and done. So the only thing we haven't really talked a lot about is, of course, the kicking battle that's going to be underway. And, there's trying to figure out who's going to be our returners. Horn Jr., is he going to be in the mix? Raheem Blackshear, does he make it? Does he have it? Is ETN up there? So that'll be another piece and component of this that we'll need to watch. So playoffs or rebuilding, as I go back to the title. I'm trying to see what we covered on here. We covered a lot of stuff, folks, and it's getting close to time for me to shut this thing down. I will get back into the chat in just a little bit. But I do think as you start talking about, win projections, and I know odds are floating out there. I think I've seen 6.5, 7 for some of those, 7.5. I do think realistically for the Panthers that sitting in that 8 to 9 win range is where I sit as a fan. And you may think, oh man, they're going from 5 to 8 or 9, like adding another 4, because I go back on what I said in the very beginning, as much as I talked about the game against Philadelphia, the game against Kansas City, heck, even Tampa. Like, you throw those games in there, you're potentially talking about a team that, if they squeak out 1 or 2 of those, a 6, 7, 8 win team, right on the verge just last year with everything that happened. And this team is going to be vastly improved on offense and defense. I think it's finally time, man. I think it's time the Carolina Panthers take down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As much as I appreciate how that organization is run, I love Todd Bowles, their front office. They figured this thing out. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of Tampa Bay running the division. Speaking of which, we're going to get into an NFC South preview of everyone later on in there. But I've been talking way too much, man. Way too much. We have my man Rock Jones. Keep pounding. I don't know where my visor is, but I appreciate it as always. Always do. Yeah, speaking of Rico Dowdle, why Dallas let him go? You know what? I'm going to bring on a buddy of mine that's a Dallas Cowboys fan at some point as we get into the preview. I think money was part of it, partially part of it, but I also think this is kind of a prove it year for him. So he gets an opportunity to prove himself, and then if go out and maybe get another big paycheck. But you do have the ties to South Carolina with the Gamecock, which is pretty cool too. So we'll take that always. Anyways, folks, man, I think that's going to do it for today. Appreciate you guys always tuning in. If you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. Have a great 4th of July, man. I'll put out some content, not recording, but I got a few videos will pop up out there. Hopefully I'll get to enjoy some fireworks. It's nice. What is this? Is it Friday? Yeah, Friday. So you hopefully get Friday off, and then you get a nice weekend. And last thing I'll say is we are going to try. I don't know that I'm going to do this every day in July, but towards the end of July, we'll pick this back up every Sunday night, live stream on top of everything else that we do during the week, all the videos. So appreciate you guys tuning in.